Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. I believe I'm live. Hey, everybody. A warm welcome. Please post in the comments if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything is working as it should. This is my second live stream, so hoping this is all set up as I'd like it to be. Where's the chat? Oh, yeah. I can hopefully see you guys. Are we on Facebook? Are we on YouTube? I know there's a little bit of a delay. Oh, there's one. Hey, here you see you. Very cool. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So that's Facebook. If somebody is on YouTube and could just give me a quick thumbs up or lateral thumbs or something, so I know that we're on. By the way, hey, Chris is here. You started this whole thing. Question from Chris on Facebook for about ear training was sort of what gave me the idea to talk about ear training in a live stream. So very happy to see you all, and still hoping somebody's on Facebook. I can see it there. But we're going to kick this off. So half an hour of more about how to get fearless ears. It's a topic very, very dear to my heart. I see so many people struggling with getting songs under their belts, and they go to these tab sites. Oh, YouTube's in the house. Thank you very much, Laura. I appreciate it. Hi from Germany. So many people are so confused, don't know where to start. Maybe they are self-taught and they are just used to going on YouTube and getting songs either through somebody playing it to them or through tab. And it is such a roundabout way. If you just know how to use your ears. And, obviously for a musician, using your ears it's the first channel that we use, right? So I want to help you in these live streams, mostly to give you a few ideas how I like to approach ear training. I have done a course that is available on my blog. It's called 6 Paths to Fearless Ears. And I like to approach ear training not just from one channel. Typically when you go for an ear training, you can get those apps and you can get, like little programs for your desktop where you can practice. And then you faithfully do these exercises on, like, oh, that's a major second, that's a minor third. First of all, you have to know theory. It's also not everybody's bag right out of the box, even though, of course, I'm a strong proponent for theory. But it is a fact that the things that you practice disconnected from the instrument on a little app can feel extremely different than when you're trying to listen to the song and listen for the bass inside a song, or when you're trying to, figure out what other people are doing in your band, or if you lose your place, how to find your way back. And I have discovered a few tracks, so to speak, that have been very, very helpful for my students. So I'm here to share just a few insights. To do the whole thing, we'd have to, practice regularly, but we're doing this once a week for now. And we will just hopefully give you a few ideas. And some of this may be very basic, but even if you are advanced and sort of looking to plug some holes maybe in your theory or in your listening, I'd still hope you to feel welcome, because I approach things maybe a little bit differently than what you typically see, and especially bringing in the emotional aspect into ear training, I hear from people, has been very helpful. So let's check in with the people. We got everything working fine. Things hanging for a second. Hopefully they're back. Okay. Well, everybody, again, a very warm welcome. And I want to start with talking a little bit about this emotional component. I got a lot of comments last time from folks saying that was very helpful. So the emotional component is, if you are the sort of person who thinks they're completely lost, they can't tell up from down barely, and they have a really hard time hearing nuances in sounds. First of all, I want to tell you, you're not alone. And typically, you just haven't quite figured out how to access the things you already do know, because you use your ears every day. You are surrounded by music, and the way music is used is to underscore emotions. So if you approach ear training from that sense, then this can very much go, oh, I can actually hear that. And that is typically a very revealing experience for people who say, I don't even know where to start, and then what breaks my heart so many times, and I know that's not the person who asked this question, but I see people, they work out the tab and then the tab's wrong and then they play it with the wrong tab and it's even worse for your ears because you think it's right and it often isn't because tab is atrocious for mistakes and that sort of thing. So let's start with sound classes. Best coffee in the world. Made by Wolf with mushrooms and cinnamon and ginger. It's just delicious. So sound classes. Talking about cinnamon, there's a sound class that I call sweet. And this would be the sort of underscore you would do when you underscore a love scene, for example, in a movie. And anybody remember what the sweet sound class is? I've talked about this last time. Sweet sound class. There are 2 intervals, or if you just were to guess, what is the sweet sounds? There are actually 4 intervals that encompass that. And if somebody remembers what they are, I'll just go for it. Maybe it'll come with a delay, but thirds and sixes. So thirds, right? Major and minor, and sixes, major and minor, right? That's the sound that you would put if you, are underscoring like something romantic, for example. That's a piano intro of Chopin nocturne, I believe. But it's this interval. That's the interval of longing or of love or My Bonnie is Over the Ocean, right? That's sweet. And also the thirds, which are obviously inversions. They are related. Thirds and sixes are related. I can play C and E like this. I have a third. I can play C and E like this, and I have a sixth. They're inversions of each other. So there is where theory actually helps you with the sounds, right? Just want to address, somebody said fifths. Now, I'll tell you something about fifths. Fifths in my world are the open sound class. They are the sound class that doesn't add a ton of information. They sound powerful. They sound strong. If you put them in the right context, they can sound a little bit ancient. Like this, for example, I'm just moving fifths up and down, right? So fifths and octaves, to a certain extent, also the fourths, but not so much. But fifths and octaves, they sound very open and they sound very strong. Okay, so back to the sound class of the thirds and sixes. Here's what I like to do. And just to warm up our ears a little bit, you're all invited to participate. I'm going to play a sweet sound class, and then I'm going to contrast that with a non-sweet sound class. And if you can hear exactly what it is, please feel free to say, oh, that's minor third or whatever you're hearing. But also, define it's the sweet sound or it's not the sweet sound. Oftentimes, when you're confused about something, the best way to go about it is to contrast it. If you can't hear things going up from down, then play up, play down, and hear how that is different. If you hear the contrast, then you start to tune in. So let's tune into the sweet sound. Is this the sweet sound? Yes or no? Yes or no? Now I'm going to contrast that, and I'm going to play the other thing. Is that the sweet sound? Yes or no? So you can give me the order. Yes, no, or no, yes. So this was the first one. Is that sweet? Yes or no? Or is that one sweet? Yes or no? Hey, Vanessa. That one is not sweet, and that one is sweet. Exactly. So the first one was an octave. Sounds bland, open, powerful, But then came the sweet sound. So the contrast helps your ears, right? I'm going to play another pair, and you again tell me, and did somebody hear what that was? First one was an octave, and the second one was a minor six. You know how in my mind I find the sixes? The sixes are very far apart. So in my mind, I find the fifth, and then I go a half step up, then I know it's a minor six, or a whole step up, right? You want to get yourself little step ladders inside your mind so that you can hear it. It's similar to when you learn rhythm. What really helps is to have the subdivision inside your mind, right? You're trying to get a rhythm and you have a hard time finding the beat. You go, and then you start hearing it. So it's the same idea. If you can't hear that intro because it's too far away, then make a little bridge in between. And I like to do triads, and then I just add a half step, and there I am. Okay, here's another pair. Sweet. So it's going to be 2, and you can say yes, no, or no, no, yes, or yes, yes, or no, no. Sweet, yes or no. And this one. Sweet, yes or no. I'm, of course, tricking you guys. What's the first one, sweet? We have 1 no, yes. Any other guesses? I think for folks on Facebook, if you put in your name, then I can see who you are. Otherwise, it just comes up as user. So people say no, no, and that is correct. This is a sound class that I call tens, if you recall. So that's in a movie when the murderer is about to walk around the corner. There's tension. There's something happening. These are both not sweet. So let's move on from that because we're already far in. But that's a first step always that I like to introduce when people say they're really, really confused in terms of ears. So you look for glaring contrasts and just start there, And once we have figured out, okay, there's sweet, there is tense, there is then there's bland, if you will, or open. Then you can fine tune. Well, let's say we started with sweet. So there's sweet and far apart. That's that one, right? That's a 6, a minor 6. And then there's sweet and close together. There's a minor 3rd, for example, right? They're both sound class sweet. One is far apart, one's close together. And then you can fine tune even that. This one's close together. This one's also close together, but a little further out, right? So you start fine tuning. And we do a lot of that in the ear training class. It's arispaceblock.com/ear training course, I believe. But the idea is to sort of get your ears primed so you can hear these glaring differences. That is also helpful. By the way, thirds, there's 2, right? Major and a minor 3rd. So let's say we have the major 3rd and then you hear the minor 3rd right after it, okay? Oftentimes people say one sounds happy, one sounds sad. Yes, but I can turn that around in a New York minute because I can make this sound sad just by doing that. What I did was I added a 3rd note. And now all of a sudden, this major 3rd on top becomes part of a minor triad. And now it starts sounding sad, right? If I hear just the major 3rd and the minor 3rd back to back, then I can say, oh, that sounds happy. That sounds sad, right? Happy, sad. But if I put these things into a certain context, then all of a sudden happy becomes sad. Or, of course, I can make this guy, the sad guy, happy by just adding another note on the bottom. Okay, so context in ear training is everything. And that is also an issue not an issue, actually a trick you can use. It's one of my tracks, context. And context means chord progressions. And chord progressions means there are certain formulas that songs show, that songs use, that appear over and over and over again. And if you dial yourself in, you don't need to know, it's great if you have amazing ears and you can hear all the extensions and alterations and whatnot that people can put in. But if you can just focus on the basics and hear, oh, that's this again, right? I'm going to show you this again. That's really important to know. Okay, it's my track. Okay. This is a 1 chord and this is a 5 chord. Okay. Now you may know that there are functions in music like the chords. When you have a scale, you can build a chord from every single scale degree, right? not my favorite order, but it is an order that's instructive. So here it is. I'm just taking my C major scale and I'm building a chord off of every single scale. Now there are 3 main types of sounds that produces. And as I like to do, I like to simplify. I like to go straight to the shortcuts just to get us started and then refine from there, right? My shortcuts is there are 3 functions or 3 sounds that we get out of these types of chords, and they always relate to each other. You know, this is a certain context. If you hear this, or if you hear this, then I know I'm in C in this case, right? So there's like this heavy note. That's the key. That's the root of the key. And when you're trying to figure out a song, it helps to find the key. So to sort of find the song that feels heavy, that feels like gravity, there's another emotional component. The root sounds like it's home. It's like you landed. Okay, so 1, 4, 5, 1. Right? Now, if you have a hard time distinguishing these sounds, let me just give you an example of not home. Okay, because then you're going to hear it. This is not home. Sounds kind of stable. Sounds kind of stable. Steve is mentioning the Functional Ear Trainer app. That's one of my favorite apps. Yes, plays a chord sequence and then a tone. It was exactly what I just did. And in my course, Functional Ear Training is one of the 6 paths. So I love Functional Ear Training. Why? Because this is exactly the context in which we hear things. So you are in the context of a key. Is this home? Yes or no? No. It still sounds a bit stable, though, because it's part of my chord, of my 1 chord. But it's not the root. The root is... So just listen for this, how the root sounds more stable than this. It's less stable. You hear that? So now here's another note. Is that the root? Yes or no? Again, the context. Steve's got it. 1, 4, 5, 1. This is also known as a cadence. And we do that to lock ourselves into the key. Guess why? Because it gives us those 3 functions that I'll talk about in a moment. So you got the sound class, Steve? Maybe you're responding to the earlier one. The earlier one was a major third, but this one is actually... Remember what I said earlier about the 5th and then making a little ladder, finding your next note? So when I play these chords, 1, 4, 5, 1, I'm playing 1, 3, 5, and then I'm going up a whole step. Do you hear that? That's a major 6. That's not the root. Okay, I'm going to make this one really obvious. This is not the root. You hear it. That one's not even in the key. One's not even in the key, okay? So by doing just these kind of like high overview level exercises, you learn to tune your ears. And the Functional Ear Trainer app, which you can get at miles.be, that's on the desktop, and there you just click do the method. You can learn step by step. He has what he calls the method, and he goes steps 3. You go through it and you learn it step by step. And I love functional ear training. So it's a big part of my ear training course as well. So you can hear, you go, what I played just earlier was the tritone. It was sharp 4, so it's an F sharp, which is not even in the key. Now I want to talk about these 3 sounds that you hear inside of a major scale. The 1, 4, 5, as Steve mentioned, that's a cadence. So those are 3 very important sounds. And you can hear that when you have the 1 chord, I like to simplify stuff to the point of it being fun or funny, but I think it helps because we remember it. So to me, the 1 chord sounds like home, right? The 4 chord sounds like a lift. I'm going somewhere, right? The 5 chord sounds like I want to go home, especially if I put that 7 in there, okay? So home, lift, please take me back home, and I'm home. Okay, now just listening to those, this is also known as 1, 4, 5, 1. Now I want you guys to tell me what sequence I'm playing. You're all hearing that? So I started with home, and then I 151. Yes, put your names in the field if you would, guys. I'd love to see your names. It just shows up as user on my end. So 151, and that is home. I want to go home. Please take me back home and home. Okay. Now I just played 3 chords. Somebody said 154. Let me play that for you. By the way, if you get something wrong, don't just go, oh, no, I can't do it. I'm horrible. I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm just saying a lot of people do it, me included. But remind yourself that this is actually a great learning opportunity. Okay, so you thought it was 154. Let's listen to what that sounds like. 1, 5, 4. It's a beautiful chord progression, right? Shows up in lots of songs. But it's different because it opens up, it ends on the lift, right? So that's, then you can go, oh, that's that, and that's not that. And if you get confused easily, it's just because you move on too quickly. That's my main point. You move on too quickly. You just need to hang out on that a little bit more. Okay, let's do one more like that. I'm going to do a different key because once we transpose stuff, everything starts sounding different. I'm going to give you just a quick... putting yourself into the key. Okay, now I'm gonna play the root, so you hear where it's at. And now I'm gonna do, okay, so we're in the key now, right? Okay, now I'm gonna play this sequence. I'm gonna play 3 chords, these 3 in a certain order, and you tell me what the order is. Who's got it? Oh, sorry, what key was I? Yep. François got it. That was 4, 5, 1. Okay. Yep, perfect. Somebody said 5, 4, 1. Let's listen to what that would sound like. Right? Somebody said 6. We haven't even gotten to the 6 yet, but the 6 is also a very beautiful beautiful sound. Now, see, the thing with chords and all that sort of thing is I can turn things around. I can make, because if somebody hears this as a 6, you're not so far off, because the 6th chord in A flat major would be F minor, right? And but somebody said 6. The 1 chord and the 6th chord are not very far away, sound-wise. And when we're saying there's 3 types of sounds: home, going somewhere, and coming home, I have only talked about the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord, which incidentally are the 3 major triads inside of the scale, right? If this is over your head, don't even worry about it. But I said before that we're just building chords off of each scale degree, right? And the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are the 3 that have the major sounds. Now, these functions, they carry over into some of these. What about the chord build on the 2? What about the chord build on the 6? What about the chord build on the 3, as somebody mentioned? They're related. They're related to that main chord. So whether I go 1 chord or 6, like the chord that's built on the 6, which is a 6 minor, then it kind of sounds similar. Do you hear that? It's just a little color added. If I voice it like this, turning things around, I'm just turning around the order, it doesn't really matter, right? So hopefully that is helpful. Again, just here to inspire you a little bit, to use your ears in a different, kind of from a bird's eye view, and to cut yourself some slack if you don't quite have it as much as you'd like to. Now, Chris, yep, the 6 is minor, that's right. And just for those of you who do know the theory, the 1 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord, they all are the home base. 1 chord, 3 chord, and 6 chord. I'm going to see 1 chord, 3 chord, they kind of sound and this is nice to hear when you're like do a turnaround and such stuff, but I don't want to get too theoretical and confuse folks with too much theory. So I'm just kind of keeping it close to the ears. But you see, if you do know theory and you can use the words, it does help. So that's when I recommend where's it here? My book. Okay, I want to just do a very brief pitch. I have been very, very grateful for this to happen, but I've been getting overwhelmed with requests for private lessons. What I've decided to do is take a little detour, and because my waiting list is very long and very full, and I'm just really sorry that I can't be there for people who would like to work with me one-on-one. But what I am doing is I'm creating practice groups. So I'm even thinking about creating an ear training practice group. If you're interested in that, and I hope this is the right URL. Let me just put that in here. You can put your name here. It's completely you're not committing to anything. And you are just letting me know that you are interested in this kind of practice. This would be small groups where we would be meeting online, and I have several topics lined up that I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about being very low key about advertising this, mostly in the Facebook group and on my channels. I might even do a landing page or whatnot, but I have tested it and people loved it, and so there will be several levels, small groups, and if you're interested in that, please put your name in the list that you find, I hope, at this address. People have also emailed me after the live stream, which I much appreciate, and said, we'd like to support you, we'd like to buy you coffee, we'd like to thank you for the time you're putting in for us. That's very much appreciated. If you'd like to do that, you can PayPal me a cup of coffee at info@respaceblock.com. That's very much appreciated. And if you'd like to hear more about the practice groups, then this info again is here. Okay, so I want to go into one more thing. And that is the whole ear training fit idea got started because somebody asked about a song, and the song, which I wish I could do live here. It would be so cool. Just pull up the song and then, live show you how I'm going about it. But Facebook would ban me in a New York second because of copyright reasons. So they have algorithms that sniff that sort of thing out within seconds. And then you have like 3 strikes and you're out or something. So I don't want to go down that road, but I do want to, I have been thinking about ways how I can get around that. So being married to a composer has many, many perks. And he made me a track that we started with last time a little bit. This is a chord progression. I keep talking about chord progressions, and we keep talking about common chord progressions, right? Earlier, I was talking about 1, 4, 5, 1, right? Let's add one more chord. And I tell you, if you were listening for some sort of a pop tune or, gosh, loads and loads of tunes have this chord progression from the Beatles on or before, but there is hundreds of songs with this chord progressions. It's this one. Let's see if you can hear it. And the song that Chris asked about is by the Foo Fighters, and it is called Alandria. I hope I'm saying that right. And it has that chord progression in there. It has essentially those 4 chords and a couple of more items in it. But it has just, essentially it's that chord progression. It's in a different order and it's only in one part of the song, and the song is in minor, so it's a little bit different. But essentially it's those 4 chord progressions. There's a 2 chord in there at one point. But to me, sort of when I was listening to this, I was like, oh, there it is again. It's just in a different order, but the chord progression is 1, 5, 6, 4. And again, the song is actually in minor. But yeah, I think I just said it, didn't I? I totally just left my comments here. Where am I? 2, 4, 6. Wait, 2, 4. Wait, okay? Let's get talk about one thing for a second. Sometimes people write I and like the Roman numerals, kind of like minor. That usually means minor. So you're saying 2, 6, 5, 4. Let me just play that for you. Sounds pretty, but it wasn't it. So what I played was 1, 5, 6, 4. And again, it is in that song in the verses, I believe, but it's starts with the 6. So 6, 4, 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, and then it goes 6, 2, 4, 5, right? Seen from the major, which is sort of easier to think about for these chords, if you will. But I would say the melody, which is usually the king telling you what key something is in. It's usually the melody that tells you what key something is in, because you could have, if you have a certain, let's say, key signature, for example, you could always have this song be in major, be in minor. Steve is saying let it be. It's actually, which one is Mother Mary comes to me. Yeah, it's definitely let it be. There's hundreds of songs. I mentioned this last time, the Axis of Awesome do this skit where they pull in one after the other. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It's Take on Me. I mean, there's so many songs. Don't Stop Believing. There's all 1, 5, 6, 4. It's like the chord progression that jokingly musicians say the producers told the bands, we gotta make one of those chords because we need a hit, and then they had to go to town with that chord progression. But here is, so Chris, again, it's not exactly that song. It's not exactly like that in the song, but this is what I wanted to sort of play you. And hopefully this is helpful. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going over. Just because I can. Okay. So what this is the program Transcribe. I love the program Transcribe. If you're interested in it, you can get it here. Transcribe is essentially a program that helps you zoom in, slow down. I'm not going to get into all it does, but it is a great tool for transcribing because you can see the waveform much better. You can manipulate the sound, and I'm just going to play you. This is the same chord progression now with the bass line, right? And at first the bass, it's a little hidden. And in a second, the bass is going to, but so far the bass is just playing the roots, right? So, but it's a little bit hidden, and I can use this tool. For example, one thing I sometimes do, especially when you're listening to like old songs where the bass is really buried and you have a hard time figuring out what is the kick drum, what is the what is the guitar, there's so many sounds. That's another one of those skills. We need to find the bass in this mix. There's so much going on. And I mentioned this in my course also at length, overtones of pedals, and they mess up our ears. And then we always think, well, the going and using my ear training app and doing all this is for naught. No, it's not. You just need to also have this bird's eye view and learn to distinguish, okay, this is the bass and this is not the bass. I'm going to show you something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this effect here and go, it's not an effect, it's in the effects window, but I'm going to move the sound up an octave. And if you're ever listening like to an old Motown tune or something where, technology wasn't quite there, and, the bass sounds beautiful and all, but is often really buried in the mix. You have a hard time hearing it. This will sound horrible, but it'll be instructive. What I do is put it up an octave. So there's a little window. Can you guys see this? Oh yeah, cool. So there's a little window. They call it tuning. And I can make this sound an octave higher. And now listen. And now you can oftentimes hear the bass stick out. Again, it sounds not my listening pleasure like this, but you can hear it because it is sounding higher and the frequency is boosted. You can also take out the bass. I've not often boost the bass. With this program, I've often not been in the EQ window. You can select bass remove or bass select, and oftentimes that actually just makes it worse because then you hear just the low frequencies on this track, which is created on a computer likely. It actually does boost it quite a bit. So, but that might not always help you. Sometimes it just sounds like you. Oh, did I even get this going? I don't think I did. Load. I gotta load it. Okay, now let's see. Now this should play it. It didn't play. Yeah, there we go. That's more what I was used to. So, it's just sounding like underwater, right? So this is often not helping. I prefer to just put it up an octave instead, and then I can often hear the bass. So when you're listening to a tune, this helps. Now I want to show you, so at first just listen to the bass. It's just playing the roots. That is a certain sound, that is a certain feeling, right? It's just playing the heavy, the gravity. It's just pulling you down, so to speak. Now listen, that's the bass playing the roots, right? And now the bass is starting to play something else. And then he goes into something else again. But for what the bass did at this point was, and this would be something I'd like you to catch, even if you have no idea what it is, but it is before it was stationary and now it's moving. Now knowing, I'm going to throw out some theory names, scales, triads, pentatonics. Was there something in that bass movement that you can make out? So I hope that question makes sense. I'm going to play it to you again. So here I'm going to start somewhere in the stationary bit. 6, 4, here it comes. Can't see me. And then it goes into something else. What theory device is the bass using? This is out of my theory course, where we go into that. But what device is the bass using to make this bass line go into a little bit of a more activated direction? And we could, of course, talk about what does this do creatively? When should you use this? When should you not use this? Does this step on anything? This is just a practice track. There's no singer. There's no guitar player. There's nothing else happening. It's just exposed kind of rhythm section, right? So I can do a lot of things that maybe in the band context I might have to be careful about. But that's good to know, right? What effect does this have? So to me, again, allow your emotional knowledge, your sort of knowledge of communicating. How would you describe the difference between, Chris, I love this word, scales. Not chromatics, but that's a good one too. That's a very good one too. So the chord progression, somebody mentioned 4/5 to passing back to the 1. Again, the chord progression is still this 1, 5, 6, 4. It's still the same thing, 1, 5, 6, 4, right? It's always that moving over and over. So the chord progression stays the same, but the bass does something different. That's my aim here for you to hear. So 4 chord, back to the 1, home, right? Home. 5, and the bass is just pumping the roots. 6, 4, and now listen to the bass. I hear some great words, passing tones, scales, yes. Now, chromatics is an interesting one. So passing notes, you can say passing notes because I'm sort of, and scales was the word I was fishing for, because what I'm doing is I'm using snippets of the scale. And I actually, with my students, what I often do is I say, okay, use this tonal material and use it in a way so you meander up and down just the scale. And then we use jumps and we use contrast, right? So to just sort of find out what this does creatively. And so a scalar bit, it creates more movement, right? It also creates, in this case, a very interesting effect. And that effect is that I'm now playing no longer the root on the downbeat. So there's a little bit, at least I'm playing the root on the downbeat, but not on beat. What is it? Dun, 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 da, 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 da. On beat 3, I'm playing actually the D, because I'm creating this little transition into the next chord. Now, if I were to give myself the assignment, this could be a typical assignment that I give my students sometimes. Use a scalar sequence or part of a scale to get to the next chord. Okay, so 2, 3, 2, 1. Yes, you nailed it, Walter. And now, of course, I could do this in many, many ways. I'm going to do this from the beginning. Now, knowing, where are we? We're in the key of C. Those are my notes, right? And what I'm going to do is have the same assignment, play 1, 5, 6, 4, and use scalar material to get from one chord to the next. What I did in this one was to use this formula that Walter was saying, 2, 3, 2, 1. And now I'm going to use the same idea, scalar snippets, but maybe not 2, 3, 2, 1, but something else. Let's see if you can guess it. I hope you get the ideas. I'm not going to let you go back and think, what was that? I was getting carried away, and that's fine. When you do this in a song, you have to be careful not to step on anybody. So I just want to say that over and over again. What I'm doing is I'm playing the first 2 beats, staying on my root, staying on my place, and I'm using beats 3 and 4 to get to the next place, which creatively can be a very good choice. Creatively, this can work through the entire song. Okay, but if you're starting to get in the looks, and if people are getting a little, it could step on something is the only point I want to make. But it can be a wonderful way to keep a chord progression moving. Or think about it this way. Maybe in my first verse, I'm staying just on the roots, which is starting the song. And now I want to bring in something else because something happens in the arrangement, right? And I want to support that. 2, 3, 2. Okay, now here comes any questions so far about this? So again, my points being, I'm giving myself a creative assignment. It's in a way a theory assignment. I'm using scalar snippets. I am using beats 3 and 4 to create a transition to the next chord. I'm using this chord progression 1, 5, 6, 4. Everybody's homework, go into your song list and find a whole bunch of those songs because they are, they're everywhere and everybody has them in their catalog. So here is any questions about anything about that I said so far, and how this hopefully, again, have a bird's eye view first before you try to just figure out everything. If you can just hear, there's a scalar thing happening. Transition notes. By the way, somebody said chromatics, and I do want to play you an example of what chromatics would sound like. Chromatics would work, and I'm going to use the same principle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and so now I was using some chromatic approaches. I could do that in so many ways, right? I could go 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Think about that. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And this is known as an enclosure, by the way. If you come chromatically from the top, from above, I use the double enclosure from 2 notes from above, 2 notes from below. I can do just a quick chromatic note like this. Or come from above or from below. I could do that. I'm going to use a couple of chromatic approaches so you hear the difference. Chromatics have a more, they point more to the new note that's coming because it creates a little bit more tension. If I have a diatonic, which I was using before, just notes out of the scale, C major scale, white keys, if you will, then it sounds very inside still. Here's movement. It sounds inside. But when I use chromatics, it starts sounding a little bit more like maybe a little, it's like you always get away with chromatics because they have an aim, but it sounds a little bit like you are no longer in the scale. Let me just show you this. Let's see, I can pull this off. Do you know sometimes you have a chromatic approach like from the B to the C? And it actually is the same as a diatonic approach because that just happens to be a half step, from that scale degree to the root. Any questions, wishes, concerns, do let me know. There's one more thing I'm going to show you. So at this spot, the bass is doing something scalar. If that's all you can pick up, that's already a lot. And then you can, figure out, it starts on the 2, 2, 3, 2, 1, or you can come up with your own formula. You can say, I want to do 3, 2, 1, 3, and how's that going to sound? And that way you give yourself these targeted assignments using numbers and letters. And if that scares you, then I just want to say there's only 12, and there's only 7 letters, so it's not so bad. And they do a whole lot, don't they? They create a ton of magic. So there's one more thing I want to show you. So now listen to this again, the spot with the scalar bits, and then it goes into something else, and see if you can pick up what it does there. Again, I'll throw out, it's one of those 3. It's either scalar, we've already done that, or pentatonics, or it is triads. Listen to it. Now listen. So now the bass started doing something else, picking up on a different concept. And who could hear what that was? It's the same idea again rhythmically, right? That I do 1 and 2 and stay on the root, and beat 3 and 4, I'm getting a little more active, right? Try it. Yes, well done, Francois. And that's exactly what I did. And that also means that that third beat sounds much more inside, right? Than on the 2. When I'm playing the 2 on the third beat, which is a heavy beat. The downbeat is super important. That's where, most of the time, we are playing the root, right? That's our job, to lay down the foundation. But on beat 3, there's another opportunity to sort of create a sound, and you have it's a heavy beat. So beats 1 and 3 are sort of very important harmonically, and you can choose to stay inside, or you can choose to create a little tension with the 2, 3, 2, 1. It created a little bit of a tension. Now with that triad, it stays very much inside, and I'm getting the feedback that it's easier to hear the bass when I play along, so I'm going to do that. And again, just listen to the transition. And when I would transcribe a song like that, and I get one shot and I'm just making little notes, and the first time listening through, I like to do that. It's scalar stuff, I make these little but whatever I hear, there's something happened with triads. If you hear a cool fill, and I'm trying to figure it out, I'm okay, there's triads happening, there's jumps, or there is, step by step. So there's lots of where theory can really, really help you. So here we go. So hopefully you hear that when I go, when I have on beat 3, I have that triad tone. It sounds much more inside, and sort of, even though that's a more jumpy line, it gels very well with my chord, of course, because it outlines the chord. So if you are in a situation where somebody comes in with with a track, or with here, yeah, everybody, I got a new lick, and you're trying to create a song, you can pull from these tools. Well, scalar stuff that creates more movement. Triad stuff, even though it's jumps, kind of cements the chord. It has a certain effect, and you can try to find ways to explain it with words, which typically kind of is just an approximation, but still can be very helpful. There's another thing I just want to go into. I'm going way over, but I'm having a great time. So here's something else I want to mention. The beginning of that song actually features, and here again, if you guys are interested in my upcoming practice groups, which I will not advertise a whole ton, just in my circles, then please put your name right on this list. What I wanted to say, that the song Arlandria started also with a riff that is a music theory riff. I'm not sure if they're gonna pull me for playing that riff. Let's see how smart their algorithms are. But these are the notes, and if you hear this, then there's a riff in the beginning of that song that is who knows what this sound is? It's a scale that has a certain amount of notes. Pentatonic, that's right. And one thing that I love practicing with my students is some sort of a call and response. And of course, with the internet latency, it's kind of not as fun as it is in person. But when I hear this, which is the beginning of the song, or I think that's what it is, and then when I hear that, I go, oh, okay, that's a pentatonic thing, right? And if you wanted to practice how to get better figuring out notes of a song, then you can, take your guitar player, take your piano player, and play each other short little snippets out of the pentatonic. It can be something easy like this, and now it's your turn, and so much super fun when you have a drummer, and then they keep the beat, and then you go, and then the other person goes, and you make it harder and harder, or you start adding notes, making more rhythmic variations or whatnot. It's a really fun game. You say, well, listen, we're only going to stay within those, 4 notes, maybe even. That's all the song does, right? It stays in just those 4 notes. And you quiz each other, and you give each other little, bits and pieces to play. And now here's the fun part of the rule, though. If the other person gets it wrong, first of all, the drummer has to keep going, right? The rhythm always has to keep going. So if somebody makes a mistake, you're not allowed a second start. You're not allowed. Let's say I play real simple, right? And the person goes, you get a second chance, but you must never drop the beat. Okay, so if I go, and then you have time to try it. If you didn't do it, I'll repeat it. And then if you got it right, I'll do another one. And then it's your turn. And if you didn't get it right, I'll repeat it, but I must never, ever, ever, ever let go of the 4 beats. That's a really, really good exercise, because whatever we practice in music, you have to practice to the beat, because otherwise it doesn't help or mean anything. So I love this practice with this call and responses back and forth. We do this a lot in the courses as well. And the last thing, I think I'll leave it there. Any questions, wishes, concerns? So again, reiterating my main points. These apps, these ear training exercises, help do them. If you're confused in the band situation, cut yourself some slack. Typically what you're lacking is the bird's eye view. And the bird's eye view you get with exercises like I showed you today. For example, focusing in on sound classes. Is the sound sweet? Is it bland or open, or is it tense? That can give you a lot of information. Am I hearing scalar bits? Am I hearing triad bits? Am I hearing lots of roots, right? That's just a bird's eye view information. Also, common chord progressions, a big one. This common chord progression that I used today, 1, 5, 6, 4. Super. Thank you all so much for joining in. I'm going to be doing another one next Friday, and looking forward to seeing you there. Please give me feedback. Let me know how it's all working for you. And I will see you at the next one. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers.